Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. Earlier this year, I ranked every single Laika villain. Today, I'll be covering the heroes of the cult stop motion studio. However, I won't be including every single character on the good side. I'll only be counting protagonists, deuteragonists, and tritagonists. So let the countdown begin. Alvin, from ParaNorman. This school bully loves to pick on kids to make his dumb mates laugh, or to protect his very fragile ego from humiliation. But once he gets caught up in Norman's newest supernatural adventure, he has to join our band of heroes to survive. What I appreciated about Alvin is that he doesn't get an out-of-nowhere sob story to explain why he bullies. He's just a thick-headed moron who enjoys feeling big, is desperate to impress his peers, and has a lot to overcompensate for.
You're dead, freak show! Do you hear me? D-E-D, dead!
If anything, Laika does a great job at mocking bullies altogether through his portrayal, by showing that he's just a scared puppy when face to face with actual threat, as the film frequently turns him into the butt of the joke. His tough street kid act gets crushed into dust once he goes up against the paranormal, because he can't bully the undead. Oh, and the film gets to switch the dynamic up by revealing that Norman is actually a lot braver than his own bully.
Norman, what are you doing? I think I peed my pants.
During Norman's quest, Alvin is mainly a comic relief, but his delinquent background makes him a useful side hero at times.
Boom.
Plus, the fact that the school bully has to scold the adults for being angry idiots ends up speaking volumes for the mob's dissent.
Shame on every single one of you. How dare you all?
So, he's right at the bottom of my list. Why? I mean, yeah, he's a great satirical parody of bullies, and he mixes up the zombie survivalist group that we follow, but the Laika Heroes gallery is full of so many great characters, and someone had to end up at number 18. The edgelord bully who never ends up apologizing to his victims, sexually harasses a girl without consequences, and doesn't exactly mature or change by the end, seemed like an obvious choice for the studio's worst hero. Sir Lionel Frost, from The Missing Link. Lionel is an adventurer who wants to join a snobby club, but said club's members refuse to accept someone obsessed with mythology. So Lionel tries to become a member by proving that Bigfoot exists, only for Sir Frost to discover Mr. Link the Sasquatch. Now, there are some perks to this hero, like his engaging passion for weird folklore legends that brings him to enthusiastic life.
Proof, I tell you, that man's primate ancestors are not just tall tales and flights of fancy, but alive and well.
Or the fact that he can carry himself with class, but also put up a good fight in a throwdown despite his bolshness. And when I love how accepting he is of Mr. Link's decision to go by the name Susan. Sure, Lionel is surprised, but he doesn't try to talk Susan out of it.
That is a girl's name.
Uh-huh.
Well, yes, it suits you.
That's honestly based. However, I find Sir Mr. Lionel Frost to be the least horrible main character in any Laika movie to date. Look, I know that it's okay for a protagonist to have unlikable flaws. And yes, Lionel does eventually later change as a man, but he's just too grating to spend time with for a whole film. No, I don't expect Lionel to be perfect, because perfection is boring. But Lionel's worst character traits are just too exaggerated and end up clouding over his positives. From being cruelly insensitive about Susan's well-being, to using gross manipulation tactics to get his way.
Such a vibrant, spirited, intoxicating woman.
Stop! What is wrong with you?
Like I said, he does develop, but not out of his own accord or self-reflection skills. He has to be wrangled, prodded and pushed by his love interest Adelina every single step of the way. Yes, Adelina is a good friend for guiding him, that's what mates do. But Lionel is a grown man who shouldn't need to be mothered into understanding basic empathy like he's a toddler.
Look at him. Look. His dream is crushed and you only talk of yourself.
Heck, whenever Lionel is taught to do the right thing, he tends to handle said lessons in obnoxious ways. Whether he blows smoke up his own arse for doing something decent for once,
Wow, that was positively altruistic, if I do say so myself.
or throws a strop about being asked to consider someone else's feelings.
Well, what about my dreams?
What, to belong to that silly club?
I like the idea of Lionel as a character on paper, but the actual execution really needed tweaking. Susan Link, from The Missing Link. This Sasquatch is a big goofy cinnamon roll. a lonely Bigfoot who just wants to find his relative family. Unfortunately, he later learns that his Yeti cousins are too stuck up to befriend him. Susan's wholesome innocence is a great way to counter Sir Lionel's cynical narcissism in the film, as well as a good source of light-hearted comic relief to balance out the film's danger and despair.
Here, now, throw this rope over the wall. What did you just do?
What do you mean I threw the rope over the wall?
However, he's no pushover, he will put up a good fight if thrown into one, and the average man has no chance against his brute strength or alarming stature.
Do you think you have things in hand, Mr. Link? I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh, and even if he does make a clumsy mistake, he will immediately fix his mess right after. My favourite thing about him though, is that in true Laika spirit, he doesn't want to conform to societal norms. For example, when he decides to pick a first name for himself, he chooses the first person to ever smile at him, who happens to be a woman.
Susan.
Yeah, Susan. That should be my name.
If I'm completely frank though, I do find him to be Laika's least compelling himbo. Don't get me wrong, I love him to pieces and think he's a giant teddy bear. It's just that Laika's other himbos are a lot more rounded and have a bit more to them besides just being nice and dopey. Like they can be a little hot-headed or hold a personal prejudice towards someone different. Sure, he's a bit too trusting, which is technically a character flaw, but a lot of Susan's wrong choices tend to be the result of Sir Lionel's bad faith directions for the naive Sasquatch, which actually says more about Sir Lionel's moral compass than Susan's.
I do not even want to know how you got this.
There was a nun, we mugged her.
A lonesome Bigfoot who craves family is a charming idea, and the film does slightly tickle the drama of such a premise, but Missing Link mainly uses Susan as a way to show how insensitive Lionel is.
If he catches us, he will shoot you dead, skin you, and have your pelt as his hearthrug. And if that happens, well then, I have no chance of winning my wager.
Or as comedic fodder to liven up exposition scenes.
Cookie?
There was potential for him to be a rich and deep relatable character, but he happens to be stuck in Laika's weakest film to date, and kind of ends up playing second fiddle in the Sir Lionel Frost show. Neil from ParaNorman. Norman's new best friend is a very bubbly kid. Despite being a victim of bullying due to his weight, he remains upbeat and strong-spirited.
Doesn't it bother you? Nah, you can't stop bullying. It's part of human nature.
There's also this endearing bluntness about him. He doesn't mince words about how he's feeling or what he thinks.
You know who I am.
The weird, stinky old bum who lives up the hill?
Unlike everyone else in the town, Neil finds Norman's paranormal ability to be super cool. He genuinely loves that he's best he can see and talk to ghosts. What others call weird, Neil finds awesome.
This one's not weird. He talks to dead people.
Sure, he has his limits when it comes to Norman's supernatural business, but really he just wants to be mates with a fellow outcast, who happens to live a dangerous life.
I have to go up to the old graveyard and stop it before the sun sets tonight. So, you want to come play a bit later?
Neil does want to help Norman on his adventure, and he is the only side hero who at least tries to read books for Norman's research. But he's clearly not mature enough to take the Agatha case seriously. He's just a naive kid who doesn't fully grasp the situation at hand, or the intense responsibility bestowed upon Norman. Even though Norman rudely tells him to go away in frustration, Neil still loves his bestie enough to scold the mob for not appreciating Norman's work to end the town's curse. That's how big his heart is as a hero.
All night, he's been trying to save you from the witch's curse.
Neil might not be the most reliable sidekick for ghost adventures, but you can depend on him for unconditional friendship and comic relief laughs.
I'll punch you in the boobs.
I don't have boobs. These are pectorals. Ow, my boobs!
Adelina from The Missing Link. This widow of Lionel's ex-partner decides to join Lionel and Link's world quest after she realizes that she's never had an adventure of her own before. She's a fiery woman who never holds back on calling Lionel out on his terrible behavior and is consistently firm about how she feels.
Poor Adelina.
That does not mean I'm happy about you.
At the same time though, she's a deeply empathetic person, not only immediately accepting Link's strange existence without judgment, but also being amazing at reading the Sasquatch's changing emotions.
Look at him. His hope rests in your hand, Lionel.
On top of all of these qualities, she gets to have a couple moments of badassery, like when her relentlessly aggressive shooting style scares a professional hunter. or when she knocks out a Yeti twice her size. However, much like with Link, Adelina ends up being sidelined in the film's story. Sure, the seed for a terrific character is here, but it's never fully realized. I mean, I love the idea of a grieving widow escaping a reclusive life to experience the world that her husband once explored. Sadly though, she's mainly in the film to babysit the far less mature boys, or face peril while Link and Lionel hog the action scenes, with a chance to soak in new cultures and landscapes, serving as a footnote to everything else going on. Sure, she's also a love interest for Lionel, but it's a very rushed romance that rapidly goes from Adelina fairly keeping a distance from Lionel because he's hurt her in the past, to suddenly letting her guard completely down the instant Lionel does one nice thing. However, I do love how Adelina doesn't end up with Lionel. Instead, she confidently asserts that she deserves better, which is true, and she goes on to have her very own solo adventure, a potential spin-off that would have developed Adelina far better than this film ever did. Other YB from Coraline. Designed by the other mother, this dream version of YB is a muted character for the whole film, but Laika geniusly uses silent animation to say everything. He kind of acts like a normal boy, but he's still a puppet to the other mother, so we get hints that his smile is forced, and that he's been prodded to have fun for Coraline. It's like he has no say at all in his role for the villain scheme. However, there are hints of an individual personality, and signs that he loves spending time with Coraline. So it's quite inspiring how much he risks to protect her from the other mother, knowing full well that he will face dark consequences. Heck, as courageous as Coraline is on her own, other YB is still crucial to helping her survive, and she maybe could have been stuck in the other world forever without her friend's support. That is the sign of a well-written great side hero. Tragically, this brave fella sadly faces the most macabre and nihilistic fate out of all of the villain's creations. His end is both gut-wrenching and angering at the same time.
Evil witch!
Fish from the Box Trolls. The Box Trolls are a clan of sewer-dwelling creatures who wear cardboard boxes that they can hide in whenever they're scared. Fish is the leader of these trolls and the adoptive father of our main hero, Eggs. Like the rest of the Box Trolls, he has an impeccable survival instinct and is full of curiosity regarding human artifacts. Even though humans think the Box Trolls are evil, Fish is maybe the most sensitive and loving character in the whole film. He's a very earnest father to Eggs, someone that not only loves to find presents for his son, but also encourages and nurtures Eggs' fascinations with human technology and music. While he's never told Eggs his upper level origins before, he's at least ready to explain everything once Winnie exposes Eggs as a human. Fish doesn't try to desperately hide Eggs' past, it's just that it's never really been relevant until now.
I'm a box troll like you, aren't I?
That's not to say that Fish isn't overprotective, he really is. But it's a style of parenting that comes naturally to the leader of an oppressed community that's always being hunted down. Said child-raising approach can't change unless the Box Trolls stand up for themselves first.
Get up! That thing will kill you!
Oh, my, what a surprise! Doesn't look like your little friend's on a run, does it?
Luckily, later on, after a rousing speech from Eggs, Fish gets the Box Trolls to be a braver bunch who use their engineering skills to break apart the very machine that they were forced to build.
Tear it down!
They stop hiding in their boxes out of fear, but still wear their boxes to show pride in who they are. Fish also goes from being a good father to a great father, who is healthily happy to share parenting duties with Eggs' rediscovered biological dad. YB from Coraline. YB is Coraline's new neighbor and the grandson of the landlady of the Pink Palace, Coraline's new home. He's a very nerdy kid who often comes off as rude or obnoxious to Coraline.
It's Coraline.
Caroline what?
Coraline. Coraline Jones.
It's not real scientific, but I heard an ordinary name like Caroline can lead people to have ordinary expectations about a person.
The other mother takes advantage of this grievance by designing Coraline a silenced version of YB. Okay, sure, he could be a bit of a pain, but there are qualities to YB that Coraline tends to ignore. For example, he's very passionate about nature and wildlife, he loves to pamper the stray cat like he's his own pet, has a fascination with slimy banana slugs, and can recognize dangerous or harmful plants.
'Cause that dowsing rod of yours, It's poison oak.
YB is often reluctant to share important info with Coraline, but only because he's afraid of upsetting his grandma, though what little information he does end up drip-feeding can be helpful for our lead heroine.
Well, she had a twin sister.
So?
When they were kids, Grandma's sister disappeared. She says she was stolen.
Unfortunately, he doesn't believe in the Pink Palace's dark rumors, or Coraline's claim that it hides a portal to another world, and this disbelief can make him an unreliable sidekick for Coraline.
I'll just tell Grandma that you couldn't find the doll. Ow!
You're not listening to me!
That's 'cause you're crazy.
However, after a chat with his grandma, he changes his mind and becomes just as heroic as the other YB, thus proving to Coraline that he can be a good friend. Coraline isn't just about a daughter needing to appreciate and better understand her parents. It's also about Coraline learning to give potential new friends who seem strange a chance, and how warped it would be to have your mate forcefully silenced for real. Mitch, from ParaNorman. Neil's older brother does have the usual traits of a high school meathead, but I think it would be wrong to call him a stereotypical jock. Yes, he does look down on and mock Norman for being weird, but he does live in a town that's normalized rejecting anyone different. And to be fair, Mitch clearly just wants to protect his little brother's social life.
Now listen to me. You don't need to be hanging out with weird people, okay? That's a tip.
That's the thing. Mitch doesn't fall into the bully older sibling cliche. He could have slipped into that trope, but he's a good older brother. Whether he's filming Neil's school play for a home movie, or urging Neil to be honest when Norman goes missing.
I have no idea where he is. Sorry, bye.
Whoa, Neil. Better start talking, buddy.
Mitch knows that he's not very bright too, and there's a charming modesty to this self-awareness.
What do we do? What do we do? Mitch!
I don't know.
You're the oldest.
Not mentally.
As a hero, his main role is to serve as a driver during zombie chases, and it's a role that he's happy to slide into as a car nut. But he's also a useful strongman who can keep our heroes protected. At the same time, he's vocal about his grievances with the mob, but in his own Mitch way.
And all that you want to do is burn and murder stuff. Burn and murder stuff.
Throughout the film, Norman's sister Courtney fawns over Mitch, but he shows no interest back. A first viewing might make you assume that he's just too dense to read her flirting, but then we get a twist ending.
You know, you're gonna love my boyfriend. He's like a total chick flick nut.
I wholeheartedly love this punchline. It's a natural and organic outing, funny in a way that's at the expense of someone who made assumptions, and a fantastic deconstruction of gay stereotypes that challenges audience preconceptions. All hail one of cinema's best queer himbos. So we're halfway through my video. Consider becoming a member of my channel today to start enjoying exclusive rewards. Back to the countdown. Winnie from the Box Trolls. The daughter of White Hat Lord Podley Rind is a very strange kid who has a fascination with the macabre. She totally breaks stereotypes of little girls by showing that they can enjoy gross stuff just as much as boys.
Winifred, proper girls should not be obsessing over grotesque monsters.
I'm not obsessed. I just can't stop imagining them gnawing off my toes and stringing them together as a necklace.
She's also a strong-spirited child who doesn't let others take advantage of her and refuses to soften her words. Heck, she's the voice of reality and reason that Eggs needs to help him process harsh truths.
Ooh. See? You're not like them.
This stern attitude doesn't ever make her come off as mean or cruel though. She's actually a kind soul under all of her armor, and her tough lessons to her uneducated friend comes from a good place.
Stop! Oh, you don't scratch there in public. That's why they're called privates.
Heck, Winnie isn't just great at teaching Eggs to fit in with humans, she's also impressively skilled at using the Box Trolls' hoarded garbage to sew believable upper-class fashion for an upcoming ball.
You look like a proper boy.
Me? Proper boy.
There is a reason why she wears her defenses high. Her father is horribly neglectful of her and cares way more about his white hat prestige than his own daughter.
My white hat. Huh? I'll take that.
While her mother is barely ever around and only seems to care about what Winnie looks like in public. It's really sad, but also teaches kids watching that not every child is lucky enough to have a good parent.
They're supposed to be like that man in the story. Someone who'll do anything to help you. They always listen and never get angry. They guide you when you don't know what to do. They're there when it's dark and you're scared or lonely.
To be honest, it's kind of amazing what an incredible and unique person she's growing into, despite having no responsible loving parents to guide or teach her. I mean, by the end of the film, she takes over Madame Frou Frou's stage and gets to show what a creative and charismatic kid she can be when her dark imagination is used for entertainment.
An ocean of gas floated over us like a hurricane of yuck!
The cat. From Coraline. This feline is first introduced as a fluffy stray who has a close friendship with YB, but he goes on to become a crucial supporting hero in the film. He provides the most important info to Coraline while she's in the other world, all because his extra senses help him to see through the Beldam's facade. But I wouldn't say that he just condescendingly exposition dumps for the audience's sake. The film lets the cat break the illusion of the other mother's dimension, but there are some stuff that he doesn't know, leaving him to only speculate about everything else regarding the Beldam as a folklore character.
She wants something to love, I think. Something that isn't her. Or maybe she just loves something to eat.
But I wouldn't say that he's some neutral force throughout the film. Not only does he use his predator skills during the game against the other mother, but in the real world, where he can't talk, he still manages to give warnings or directions to Coraline, without ever using the aid of a voice.
How did this happen?
Now, sure, Coraline ends up launching the cat at the feline-hating Beldam like a live grenade, which definitely annoys him, but the two make up later, because the cat knows why our heroine used him in a panic. Let's not beat around the catnip though. It's Keith David's legendary voice that makes this kitty extra awesome. The cat is already very mysterious, and Keith's deep, husky tones add to that ominous mystery. Oh, and dang is he great at playing off the cat's trademark snogginess.
Cats don't talk at home.
No?
Nope.
Well, you're clearly the expert on these things.
Courtney, from ParaNorman. Norman's older sister is your average teenage girl, always on her phone and quick to snap at people. As vapid and gossipy as she seems on the surface though, I'd say that she's actually one of Laika's more complex characters. Like any girl her age, high school is everything to her, and fitting in is how she survives the clique system. Hence why she's very pedantic about seeming normal, and resents her brother for apparently putting her reputation at risk.
I told you it was trouble. Sorry, but I did.
No, it's fine. He sucks.
It's obvious that she tends to shift her personality on a whim to appeal to others. Sort of a survival instinct. Like when she crushes on Mitch, she instantly tries to insist that she's this perfect saint character. This is quite possibly one of many masks that she wears to please her peers.
I want to do something that helps people less fortunate than me, thank you very much. You know, like the poor, or people who are dying or ugly or something.
The zombie outbreak ends up slowly chipping at her defenses though, as she finds it harder and harder to hide her vulnerability. Her anxiety made worse by how Norman would rather rely on painstaking, convoluted supernatural research than finding a realistic and grounded quick fix solution while time is of the essence.
You think you're gonna go out there, you're gonna do your talking to the dead thing, and this is all gonna be okay? What are you gonna do, huh? Ask the zombies not to eat you?
I should have known you wouldn't understand.
When push comes to shove though, and a shield of vanity is pulled down, she becomes the film's strongest voice of mature reason and leads the anti-protest against the angry mob, who are blaming Norman for the undead uprising. Then, she employs her background as a cheerleader, which she most likely used to climb up the social ladder, to motivate someone at the very bottom of said ladder. Now finally embracing her role as Norman's big sister, and trusting him to be the hero in a situation that she doesn't understand.
You've gotta get to that witch's grave. But nothing, you listen to me, Buster. We didn't turn away when Dale Ridge High was slaughtering our volleyball team, did we?
I thought we did.
No, we didn't. I have cheered the uncheerable, Norman.
Courtney could have been this one-dimensional caricature, but ParaNorman is a film that deconstructs tropes, so we end up with a layered Laika heroine, who grows from being a superficial teen into maybe the most grown-up character in the whole film.
Everybody listen up! You all need to stop trying to kill my brother! You're adults!
Eggs from the box trolls. Long ago, a great inventor called Herbert Trubshaw befriended the much despised box trolls. But when Mr. Trubshaw was suddenly nabbed by the dastardly Snatcher, the box trolls took Herbert's baby in and named him Eggs. Even though Eggs lives in the sewers with the other trolls, he still gets to enjoy upperworld culture, learning about it through the garbage that his family dumpster dives. However, he's a box troll at heart, and is happy to live like one, although Eggs soon learns of his backstory and how he's actually a human. Thankfully, he's allowed time to marinate in this news and process who he really is. But he also now knows that being human gives him the advantage of being able to enter the upper world safely.
When you meet someone, you must look them in the eye and shake hands.
To be honest, I usually don't enjoy culture shock jokes because they're pretty one note, but Eggs' misunderstandings are honestly hilarious. Mainly because his naivety is more endearing than annoying, and all of the jokes are at the expense of very rich selfish snobs who really deserve it.
It's a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Unfortunately, the humans refuse to help him, but he doesn't back down. He becomes the fire for his community, a culture that has normalized fear and hiding as the default response to their oppression.
I'm a box troll and I stopped hiding, so you can too. Stand up for yourselves. We can fight back. Don't be afraid anymore.
Eggs is not only a great ambassador for his family's rights, he also represents what humankind could be without the influences of a toxic society or excessive wealth. A humble neurodivergent hero who has never been poisoned by human nihilism and truly believes in justice for the underclass.
Jeez, hats, boxes. They don't make you. You make you.
Monkey, from Kubo and the Two Strings. Long ago, an immortal fell in love with a warrior called Hanzo, and the two had a baby together named Kubo. However, the immortal's family disapproved of a new life, so they took away Hanzo's memory, plus turned him into a beetle, and partly blinded Kubo. Years later, Kubo's aunts try to take his other eye, but his mum sacrifices herself for her son. Then, Kubo wakes up to find out that his monkey charm is now alive. Naive to the secret that she's actually his mother? Sure, it's pretty easy to work out that Monkey is really Kubo's mum, because she's so authoritative and motherly around Kubo. But she's still a really inspiring character. A mum who is suffering from depression after facing severe trauma, that uses the loss of her magic to become a protective guardian for her son, as she coaches him for the biggest quest of his life, all while knowing that a reincarnated form is a ticking clock.
This is real. This is not a story. Those things, your ants, they never get hungry. They never sleep. They will find you.
Yes, Monkey tries to keep a secret to protect Kubo, but the truth actually helps him to create new special memories. Monkey's heroism is more than just her amazing parenting though. She's also a stunning swordswoman with peak skills, even while she's stuck in a completely different body, with her every fight against her sisters making for action-packed adrenaline. While she does sneer at Beetle's foolishness and hot-headedness, she also starts to find the charm in his goofball nature, a knack for parenting her son, all while she remains oblivious about Beetle's real identity. Sadly, she doesn't get to learn who Beetle really is until her dying breath.
Seems I'm married to a bug.
Yeah. But a samurai bug.
But a time with him really showed that these two were always meant to be, and both were destined to raise an amazing boy who would go on to do great things. Beetle, from Kubo and the Two Strings. This courageous but dim-witted insect man is suffering from amnesia. But little does our hero Kubo know that Beetle is really his father Hanzo. While Kubo's mother is hesitant to trust Beetle right away, we as an audience feel immediately charmed by his wholesome but dumb personality. He's very slow, but he has a huge enthusiasm for pretty much everything.
I got it! I got it!
Plus he's an amazing archer, which is great help for their mission. Viewers will immediately clue in fast that Beetle is maybe Hanzo, because his knack for fathering Kubo comes naturally. But at the same time, we've been told that Hanzo is dead, and maybe Beetle just happens to be good with kids. Beetle's bond with Kubo is super adorable, because he brings a sense of fun to a very serious adventure, while also teaching his son very valuable skills or life lessons that he can take away after.
Concentrate on what is directly in front of you. Let everything else fall away. And release!
Hey! Perfect shot!
Now sure, Beetle's free-spirited nature greatly clashes with the strict Monkey, so the two can often break out into arguments, but they're always typical parenting debates that any adult would have.
I may not know everything.
Anything,
but I do know Kubo is more capable than you think he is. You're being a tiny bit overprotective here.
I'm being a lot overprotective here.
Plus, you can tell that there's something brewing between these two, with their flirting not going unnoticed by us. All while their long-rested romance is actually being beautifully rekindled under their very noses.
How about serious?
Stupid.
Heck, as immature as Beetle can be, his emotional intelligence is impeccable. Like any great classic himbo, his big heart makes up for his rock-hard brain.
Your story will never end. It will be told by him and by the people he shares it with.
Now, yes, he does sadly die in the finale, and it crushingly happens just after he's found out who he is. But in a film about treasuring the intense power of memories, he never really feels dead by the end. I mean, you can't forget a father as special as Hanzo. Norman, from ParaNorman. Norman is a passionate horror movie nerd who happens to have the power to see and talk to ghosts. These ghouls don't scare him at all though, and he actually loves the company of the dead. Heck, he's closer to his deceased grandma than the flesh and blood relatives that resent his gift.
There's nothing wrong with being scared, Norman, so long as you don't let it change who you are.
Unfortunately, pretty much most of his town sees him as a freak, and he faces daily bullying or judgment for a power that he didn't choose to have. This outcasting of Norman has made him build a barrier around himself, hence why he tends to push folks away.
Norman, wait up!
I keep telling you, Neil. I like to be alone.
So do I!
This changes when he's thrown into a supernatural case that forces him to work with others to solve the mystery of Agatha the Witch, along with the sudden uprising of the dead. It's an adventure that not only shows that Norman's skills can be used for heroism, but also helps Norman to come out of his shell. He can't just shyly hide away during an apocalypse. He has to become his best self and learn to embrace his uniqueness as a positive strength. All while the movie pushes him to leave his comfort zone in a number of ways and discover the deeper layers of a piece of history that's been unfairly warped through propaganda. You see, the truth is that Agatha is actually a little girl who was unjustly executed as a witch, just because the townsfolk feared her strange paranormal abilities. So the ongoing raging storm is really a scared child out for revenge, and the zombies are actually guilty executors.
You can speak to the dead. To us. To her.
Unlike everyone before Norman though, he becomes the first person to genuinely sympathise with Agatha. He sees himself in her, a kid rejected by society for their strange powers who has become resentful towards the world. No one else can understand Aggie like Norman does.
You think just because there's bad people out there that there's no good ones either? I thought the same thing for a while. But there's always someone out there for you.
Making him the perfect person to calm down her storm and help her to finally rest in peace. Coraline, from Coraline. Coraline is an 11-year-old girl who has just moved to a new home at the Pink Palace Apartments. She finds the only kid around to be a pain, sees her neighbors as too weird, and is really annoyed that their parents are always working. Then, she discovers a portal to another world, which contains perfect parents for her, an exciting fantasy. However, her other mum turns out to be behind everything and has sinister intentions. Coraline is one of the best written child characters I've ever seen. She's annoying and easily bored, but also full of curiosity and has a sense of adventure. Much like real kids, there are many sides to her.
Do not go through little door. Do you know such a thing?
The one behind the wallpaper? But it's all bricked up.
Some audiences might call her bratty, but I think that ignores the fact that she's just left a Michigan house of 11 years and now lives in a new home where she feels lonely and starved for fun. It makes sense that she's struggling to adapt to the changes that she's facing.
Can I go out? I think it's perfect weather for gardening.
No, Coraline, rain makes mud. Mud makes a mess.
Mom, I want stuff growing when my friends come to visit.
Most movies would paint her parents as bad people for working so much, but Laika realizes that Coraline's mum and dad are just trying to make ends meet. They're under a lot of stress and need to work hard to keep their family supported. It's Coraline who has to understand their adult responsibilities and learn to be patient while they commit to their current project. So Coraline's fantastical adventure in the other world becomes her coming of age arc as she realizes that this utopian paradise is too good to be true and that her actual reality is a lot better. A lesson that's drilled in further once the other mother takes Coraline's mum and dad away, leaving Coraline all on her own.
Good night, Mom. Good night, Dad.
From here on out, Coraline becomes a far more mature character, someone braver, smarter, and far more tactical about her next steps.
Why don't we play a game? I know you like them.
Everybody likes games.
Uh-huh.
A child who now has a stronger sense of intuition, understands the weight of responsibility to others, and no longer fears the boogie woman in her room. Kubo, from Kubo and the Two Strings. Out of every Laika hero, Kubo is definitely the most tragic. A boy who has lost his dad and lives with a mother suffering from depression. Said situation has forced him to grow up fast, even serving as the breadwinner of the family by using his magic shamisen to tell paper stories.
Hanzo was a mighty samurai, but he was alone. His family taken from him. His kingdom in ruins.
Throughout his quest in the movie, he shows an immense potential in terms of magic strength, and he personally collects all 3 required special items himself. But he's not exactly the most mature magician. While Beetle encourages his playfulness, Monkey insists that he has much to learn. Both parents are right in a way. Kubo should be allowed creative freedom as an artist, but he must also learn to take the severity of the threat he's up against more seriously.
Magic is not meant to be easy. You need to learn control.
However, he has an even bigger lesson to learn. You see, he's never able to fully finish the stories he tells. This is most likely because he's struggling to overcome his own father's ending, and doesn't know how to process his dad's absence. Kubo's adventure teaches him to both appreciate the grand scope of life, but also the amazing memories that can be created when you actually live it. It's a journey that leaves such a massive impact on the boy that he finds it a little easier to accept loss again, because he's inherited the power of keeping memories. A skill that makes him very strong against his pessimistic grandfather, who only sees the worst of humankind. You can't convince someone to hate when all they feel is love.
Everything you loved is gone. Everything you knew has been taken from you.
No, it's in my memories.
Kubo is a very poignantly written character with an arc that's quite intense for a family film. A child who grapples with the worst that the universe can offer, yet manages to remain compassionate and optimistic about the world despite his trauma. Next, you can watch my ranking of every Laika villain, from Snatcher to the other mother. I've been Jambareeqi. Cheerio, folks.